Crunchyroll is receiving record-breaking monthly visits, but when compared to Piracy giant GoGo Anime, it's completely overshadowed. That begs the question, why pay when you can get it for free? Most people who watch anime will pirate it, by an overwhelming majority too. And while the piracy of other vices like music has gone down in recent years, anime shows an opposite rising trend. As long as anime has been around, there have been people getting it for free. Go back as far as 40 years, in a time when anime was much more niche, people didn't really have a choice. Anime simply didn't air outside Japan. People among dozens of countries would resort to ripping VHS tapes and recording poor quality anime footage, only to sell it at small conventions and even via pen pal. It's no surprise that countries like America were a bit behind on the media. It took a long 7 years for Dragon Ball Z to air in America, but until then, piracy it was. Although the growth was slow, TV stations in America were improving with regards to anime. However, the shows readily available to the public were in small amount. People wanted to watch more, so as the hunger for anime grew, so did the amount of piracy sites. Among these most notably was Crunchyroll, who would famously become the first official subscription-based program dedicated to anime. Today, Crunchyroll has expanded massively, as has the anime industry itself. You can even see platforms like Netflix picking up a wide variety of anime, yet piracy is at its peak. Surprisingly, the reason behind this rampant piracy is the same as in the 80s and 90s. I can't find my anime anywhere. It's really not surprising that people can't find their specific show. There are over 20,000 individual animes, with my anime list boasting 23,000 titles in just its site alone. And while Crunchyroll has done phenomenally at bringing shows to the public eye, it may not be enough. They've recently surpassed 1,000 unique shows for us to watch, while the others have been providing as well. User-populated sites like GoGo Anime, however, likely have all 23,000 anime. Every title, all for free. This makes it extraordinarily difficult for your average person to justify that subscription, because with one click of a button, any anime you can watch is at your fingertips, all on one site. So with the only way to watch thousands of animes being piracy, what could the harm be? If there's no market to support, how does this affect anything? Well, it might not. The image piracy has developed over time has been anything but great. The word was largely attributed to copyright infringement for obvious reasons, but many claim it's used to dissuade the public. It's a scary sounding word that seems illegal, but a lot of negative connotation stems from the mid-2000s. Sites like LimeWire providing free music genuinely hurt the music industry, but in our case, it's hard to find any damage at all. Paradoxically, you could consider it a good thing. Being exposed to an anime for free, which you couldn't have paid for anyways, may prompt someone to invest in other ways. And while I have been referring to watching free anime as pirating, that may be disingenuous. In fact, the typical person viewing anime for free is hardly a pirate at all. This narrative that they're breaking laws has been painted exactly for the reasons you'd think. To minimize piracy. In a sense, it's a wildfire that can't be contained. Creating laws around the internet in general is hard enough. But if it's just blacklisted shows these people are watching, laws seem hardly necessary. The idea that piracy is driven by a lack of anime in the first place may be entirely false. In 2022, half of the most pirated shows in the US were anime, all of which were readily available on a legal streaming app. Chainsaw Man saw the highest piracy rate of almost any show in America, all the while on the front page of Hulu. You even have the anime monstrosity One Piece being heavily pirated, and every episode is on Disney Plus of all places. So, what's going on? These aren't shows hidden in the depths among 20,000 other anime. Well, here's the reality. People don't want to buy a subscription just for one anime. Every person who watches Chainsaw Man on an illegal website doesn't have Hulu, or else they just watch it there. This is where things could get rocky. Could the number of people unwilling to pay for anime be numerous enough to cause any damage? Because surely it couldn't be that many people. A quick Google search of the money the anime industry has lost to piracy and you'll see quite a large number. It's hard to understand where it comes from because these numbers are hard to quantify and hard to pinpoint from a credible source. However, if there's any truth to this, it could be alarming. The anime industry is notorious for money problems, and this couldn't be helping. Anime has always been seen as a risky investment, with people underpaying employees and fear the show will flop. These employees are the ones we care about supporting because the investors definitely don't need it. Could our watching of shows on illegal websites be hurting the people who make the anime? Most of the time, these people are getting paid a salary, but some investors may fund a project and give a set amount to divvy among the crew. Sakaki Masamune-san, a CG artist in the anime scene, claims a figure of around $2 million for a 13-episode anime, with $4 million describing a 24-episode budget. And if you could guess the amount of people working on one of these shows, you'd probably be wrong. The Attack on Titan staff list credits over 1,500 people who worked on the show, from voice acting to animating and anything in between. This figure can go even higher, with some shows amassing over 2,000 people for just a single anime. The budget for Attack on Titan also stays pretty close to a regular old 24-episode budget at around $5 million for the entire first season. So it's needless to say money is tight. You'd then think the big shows have a much larger budget, but that's not always the case. Mappa with Jujutsu Kaisen follows a similar trend. The less you spend on the show, the more you can potentially make. This is also why it's great for studios to make an original show and be their own investor. You can expect an entire video from me dedicated on the working conditions of these animators sometime in the future. Regardless, you have at least a surface knowledge of how the system works now. So, knowing a bit of context, piracy may end up causing damage after all. But from what we've been talking about so far, we can at least understand where the actual problem stems from. Because the industry actually does make money, and quite a bit too. The anime industry reportedly has a net worth of $28 billion, whereas Hollywood in its entirety is valued at $95 billion. Shocking how close the numbers are. So there's something the industry is doing right, yet its employees are heavily underpaid and we're the ones getting blamed. The fans are quite literally the lifeblood of anime. Strangely, however, while having some of the most supportive fans, anime stays one of the least supported forms of media. Anime watchers in particular seem to be the most willing to buy anything but the actual anime. Things like hoodies, statues, and posters. The industry's main source of revenue comes directly from merchandise by a massive margin. Why do anime fans seem so willing to buy merchandise while skipping the show? Well, likely because these things are malleable. People will always be more open to buying something they can have forever. And at the end of the day, a one-time purchase for a book or a figure is much better to most than a monthly subscription. Expanding on the idea that fans aren't as willing to pay for the shows, let's take a look at Crunchyroll's subscriber base. They've surpassed 10 million monthly subscribers as of now, which is an all-time high, but Hulu, having less web traffic, dominates them in terms of subscribers. Could the reasoning be piracy? Is it just the fact that you can get any anime you want for free? This may contribute, but you can pirate most shows on Hulu as well, yet people don't do it. Anime stays as one of the most heavily concentrated media that experiences piracy. For Americans, the fact that it's foreign and so readily available with no repercussion is likely a large contributing factor, and Americans pirating American shows may seem too risky. While the ease of obtaining anime for free may be a problem, a lot of people avoid this by any means necessary, even if it means buying multiple subscriptions just for a few shows. This is a big problem. The streaming market is getting more competitive, and to be able to watch all the biggest shows, you need a lot of subscriptions. It seemed to be a step up from cable, but now we're paying exactly the same as we were before, if not even more. Then there are hundreds of shows you'll never care about, but are paying to be able to watch anyways. These streaming services could even implement individual show purchases for very small amounts. So it's no wonder people may not want to pay for the Crunchyroll subscription when they're paying for 1,000 animes they will never watch. Unless something changes, I don't see this ever stopping. If we can at least have some positive impact on the industry, I think we should take it, whether it's buying a Blu-ray, statue, or just legally streaming the show. But in the end, the question still sits: why pay when you can get it for free?